Hey guys, and welcome back to another NRL Fantasy Fanatics podcast. We're here with Jai, our special guest from Blindside NRL Fantasy. How are you, Jai?
Yeah, good, bro. How you doing? Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
good. Nah, thanks for coming, mate. We've been looking forward to this for a while. So let's go through the team list for round 14 here. So you see, let's go through the Tigers lineup to start with. You see Alex Twal gone in the 10. What are your thoughts on that? Does that affect him much with the minutes?
Yeah, I think Alex Twal is definitely in the buy conversation, in my opinion. My concern with Twal is that his upgrade is in his performance is basically relied on the fact that Papali'i and Bateman are out. So what does life look like for Twal when they come back? I think my perspective is if you're going for Twal, it's Origin cover and you're looking to pivot him at the end of Origin.
Yeah. Well, personally, I am an Alex Twal owner, and I did buy him just because he got the 13 spot. And now without Clemmer, Bateman, and Papali'i, they're really missing that big dog in their forward pack. So I think he's got the
Mm.
big minutes, and we know what he can do in big minutes too. But another one in this pack I'm interested in is also Alex Seyfarth getting that edge spot. I think at 400k and that dual position of edge and middle now, he could be a good pivot from like who knows who, but at 400k, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm more interested in Fainu. I've already owned Fainu, personally. I think he just needed a little bit of time in first grade to kind of find his footing and find a routine. And I think we've seen in the last game he played, I think hit 50 and a try. I think he's finally starting to find a groove there. So I don't know, safer for me. It depends on the kind of coach you are, I guess. But I really don't really like having players in my team that I'm a bit sketchy on with judiciary or it could just be something random that they do that could put him in hot water. So I go, oh, that turns me off Seyfarth. And he's been on and off the bench this year. But look, I wouldn't talk anyone out of him if that was the direction they wanted to go. That mid-edge duel and Tigers, like literally not having a buy for the rest of Origin is like pick as many up as you can.
Yeah, well, we all know me. I love a smoky option, and I actually am looking at safe off this week, along with Appy Coruscant, just because I got the Jacob Little combination for my round 13 and 19, but I need around 16 hooker. And I think for
Mm,
550k, Appy is definitely underpriced, considering he plays that round 19. That's around 16, where
yeah.
you're missing the popular options of Brayley and Hands. What are your thoughts on Appy? Are you interested in bringing him in for round 16?
Yeah, I couldn't talk anyone out of Appy either. I think Appy, well, he'd still be goal kicking in that team. I think I can't see anyone in there that'd take that job off him. And look, I think we've just seen him in down form. And look, the Tigers aren't the best team either. So I think that we're probably seeing Appy Coruscant at his floor of value. If you want to take a punt on him, he's not going to lose more cash. He can only go up. So yeah, I personally got Marnie and I'm still holding on to Harry Grant. So I'm trying to see if I can move those two guys around. So I'm not in the market for Coruscant, but if you
Yeah,
are, again, it's this infinite buy schedule that they have. Like they don't have any more worries for the rest of Origin. So yeah,
yeah,
go
I know.
for it.
It's pretty good. But I'm going on to the Dragon side. There's not really much here. There's just the two at Jacob Little and Jack DeBellin. I own both of them. And I think you just see no hooker on the bench for Jacob Little. And he's a stud when playing 80 minutes. Are you interested in Jacob at all?
Yeah, dude, 100%. We've talked about this off camera, but you talked me into Little the week before he hit that 70 odd, and I was like, oh, I like what you're saying about him, but no, I want to watch one more week. And dude, it was the biggest regret. I'm out of the market for him now, but yeah, if you jumped on Little the week that you did, it's a massive buy. I think
Yeah.
he's still a buy too.
He's 640k now, though. I got him at 560 odd.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, just with Jack DeBellin, him moving back to the 10 position and looking like his PPM looks a bit better. And with their injuries, I don't really see like the Couchman and Murdoch Masilla like going forward for them as big minute players. And Jack is
Yeah.
the leader of the pack. So I do think that Jack should get 60 minutes and he can pump out 55 in 60 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. I'm on the same page with you. There's probably only two guys I'm looking at in a Dragons jersey is DeBellin and Little. DeBellin, he's in the mix for me this week. He's just his buy schedule doesn't fit exactly what I need. Hopefully, I don't know. If you've got DeBellin, he's massive buy. Same with
Yeah.
Little. I like both of them.
And then I think both Hunt, Sewer, and Lomax are holds if you have them because they're in the reserves this week. Going down on the Rabbitoh side, there's Jack White, and I'm very interested in this week. Just to that center,
Yes.
and half dual, moving back to 5'8". Is it too risky for you, not really hitting form and the Rabbitohs not being very good this year?
No, not at all. I think if I was in the market, I'm one of those coaches that has like all the half winger fullbacks, cash cows. They've been in my team for a while now, so I can't justify bringing Whiten in. I don't need that positional coverage. But mate, I called Whiten out probably round 5, round 6 when his price started plummeting. I think when he just played 2 games after he come back from suspension, I think it was. I started calling him out as a watch, and he just kept plummeting and plummeting. And I said, if he moves to the halves, you just buy him. There's no hesitation. He's got center coverage playing in the halves. And what was he, 40 average at the Rabbitohs? 40, I'm sorry, at the Raiders, 40,
Yeah,
45 average.
around
I
that.
think we're not going to see White and get any cheaper.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, you won't get any cheaper, and the worst he'll do for you is 30s there, but he's got upsides of 50s. And in this Rabbitohs team, they're better than the Raiders on paper. Like, if he
Yeah,
gets a good combination going with Latrell Mitchell, it could be fireworks for
it's
him.
on. I guess that's the other positive too. What you got Cody Walker back now, Latrell's back. I think what Campbell Graham is around at 18 to
Yeah,
20.
and
I think
they're getting Murray back soon.
yeah. So they're going to be like, look, maybe not make the 8, but they're going to be pretty hard to get over the top of. I think over the next few months.
Yeah, I agree. But there's another guy I'm very interested in this team, Keon Kalonga-Matangi. With him moving to 13 and him being cheap with a pretty good buy schedule, what are your thoughts on him? And the only thing that the only thing that's making me err on the side of caution is with Cam Murray being back soon, does Keon move back to the edge where he doesn't put up his best scores, or does he go to prop for maybe a Mawale or Kepi?
That's a good question. Where he moves, he's definitely moving when Murray comes back. Like we all know, Murray's locked. I think they would move him back to the edge. I think that's where he's. I think that the Rabbitohs seem to like that outside edge impact role close to the line. They're always running that short play. I think the mid edge duel, what his update got the mid edge duel in round 14. Like, oh, I wouldn't argue anyone out of getting him, but he's on the same risk level for me as like a David Fafita. Like David Fafita's got obviously different risks he could fall into, like origin selection and things like that. But at 650K, he just put up 100 last week, didn't he, as well? So,
Yeah, he has like a 10
look,
break even also.
yeah, yeah, look, there's worse buys. If you want him, pick him up.
Yeah, I agree. And then going to the Titan side of the ball, I'm going to go out on an absolute limb here, and I'm not buying Dave Fafita this week. And the reason
Oh,
for that is I look at his stats, and it's like I want to bring hard working players into my team, and David just doesn't make enough tackles for me on the edge to justify bringing him in. Like, what if there's that one game he doesn't get the attacking stats, or he comes up against a gun edge and he gets a 40? And it's like for 920K, I want someone like a Gus Crichton that can get a 50 without scoring a try or having the massive attacking stats. What are your thoughts on that, Fury? And
for
is
sure.
Dave Fafita just a must-have, in your opinion?
Dude, you're like talking to the angel on my shoulder when you say that. Hey, like it's 100% true. He's a massive risk. The reason I'm so inclined towards Fafita and all the risk that comes with him is because I don't really have anyone like him in my team. I've got a lot of the workhorses, the steady scorers. I don't really have too many of the ceiling breakers. And I moved on Hines. I've moved on. Well, I'm looking to maybe move on SJ. So all of these big ceiling players, I don't really have them at the moment. So hopefully they go down in price. They're options I'm looking for now, and Fafita just looks like the perfect little filler for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, he is fairly expensive though. Like,
Yeah, 900K. Like you just saying this now, I'm already second guessing the decision in my head. So look, I probably won't. I can't say for sure I'm sold on it, but at the moment he's in my team as a trade.
yeah. So I'm on the Cowboys side of the draw. You first see the 6 Origin players listed in the reserves. I do think most of them will come back in, but not many people in the side I consider a buy because of their
Mm.
bad buy schedule. They don't play 16 and 19. Are you looking to buy Scott Drinkwater even though he doesn't play 16 and 19?
Nah, I think the idea, the my concept with the Cowboys players was they had a good early buy round coverage, and I had Chester in my team for that reason. He was like a cut price drink water. He had the dual position. He got injured. I traded him out, and I haven't looked in the direction of a Cowboy since, other than owning Cotter, which I traded out prior to Origin. So look, I'm not really interested in anyone other than Drinkwater. Maybe McKaylee is a shout, but he didn't do too well last week. What, 15 in 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, about that.
So, look, I don't know. I think McKaylee is probably the only one there in the mid-range, like in the mid position that is gonna do, I think, fairly well this week. I think he might get like a 35 to 50 with the Origin players returning. We get game managed minutes or something like that. But yeah, look, if it's not
Yeah.
Drinkwater, I don't want it.
And I'm not very interested in anyone else here, but I do think that all the Origin players are definitely holds.
Yeah.
And then going to the Warriors side of the, this is very interesting. And just like I don't understand what is Jackson Ford doing at 10? Like,
Yeah.
are you interested in him at all or not really at 10?
Nah, not at all. For me, it's weird to see like Mitch Barnett on the edge, and not a prop. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see that flip. I'm
Yeah,
really the only people I'm interested here are the ones we all know about already. Adam Blake, he's massive. He's actually on our Blindside faithful. He's one of our exclusives. I'm so high on him. Even though you could wait a week for him, I think his break even's like 70 odd. Um, I don't know. I think he's going to dominate against the Cowboys, and we all know what he's like close to the line. Like weaker forward pack, is he going to be able to do it? So I don't know. Other than Tohu, AFB, I don't know. You could argue for maybe Dallin, with
yeah.
Tenny Zalesniak.
He's getting cheap
Um,
too.
yeah, he's cheap as, and what was he like 700K last year? So it's
Yeah,
kind of like the Greg Marju argument. You could maybe go for Dallin, but I think you'll see Dallin's uptick when SJ comes back.
yeah. And personally, I wouldn't be going near Chance and Cook start. I don't think that like he never really put up these numbers he has been. But yeah, I think that's pretty much that done on
Yeah,
this game.
CNK. He's
You see on
dangerous,
the
CNK.
Yeah, I do believe in that. You see on the Shark side, Daniel Atkinson in at 6 and Trindle in at 7 and no Nico Hines. I'm laughing. I sold him last week. Do you think Nico, if you still have him, is he a sell this week?
I think it's the last chance to sell him before he's like solidified as a whole, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I was telling people similar to like what you've done. He has to go. The 110 break even, $1 million. You can use that money, spread it elsewhere. The odds of him getting 100, managing that calf injury, playing Origin, it just seemed like as much as like I'm a Sharks fan, so having Nico Hines in my team was the hardest thing trading him out. But I think if you don't trade him out this week and spread that cash to where you need it to go, you kind of force yourself into holding him.
well, there's a lot of good options you could pivot to too, like a Jerome Hughes, a Jack Whiten if you wanted to go real cheap,
Yeah,
but not like a Mitch Moses you could go to. Also, I'd have those two at the top,
yeah,
and I think yeah they'll do just as well as Hines through this period, I reckon.
yeah.
And as I was saying to someone, like, imagine picking up Nathan Cleary at 860K when
Oh,
he comes
dude,
back.
it's gonna be insane. That's my play right now. I've got Dylan Brown. I'm trying to hold him as long as possible, and then I had SJ, but I've also got Galvin. So I'm like, both those guys are going to be probably roughly around 100K of each other, and they can both be my pivots. Brown
Yeah,
and Galvin straight to Cleary and Hines undervalued.
I'm gonna call it here. I reckon Galvin will be a straight swap to Cleary.
Yeah, I
I did
think
not
so
think I'd be
too, which
saying
is
that.
so crazy to think, dude. It's so
Yeah,
crazy to think.
but not much else here. I think Cam McInnes backing up. I wouldn't be looking at him though. Like, probably he gets the
No.
starting 13 role for Origin, and I think he'll play big minutes. But some guy who I think is very very interesting, but not like longer term is Talakai with the news of Teague Wilton, and we all know what he can do on the edge. Is there any interest in there at all for you?
Look, I've mentioned this in our TLT drop today, just before we jumped onto the recording. Talakai is of interest. He's so undervalued playing off the bench for, I think, other than 3 games this year or 2 games this year, he's played from the bench. So he's severely undervalued. And definitely on the buy radar. The problem with it is that we don't know how long Teague Wilton's out for just yet. And AC injuries are just awkward. Like he could be back next week, Teague Wilton, or
Yeah,
he could be back and like look at Flegler. So it's like, I hate hearing AC joint injuries and potential trade options because it's risky. But I don't know if anything happens to anybody else in the like the back row, say something happens to Nikra or whatever, something happens to one of the centers. Well, where's Talakai going to go? He's only going to pivot, stay in the starting side. So look, there's a big risk, but it could pay off big time if
yeah.
you bring him in.
And do you believe that Ero has a full time spot over Talakai now at center?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of put myself in that basket earlier in the year. Actually held off Iro until he got to about like 320K, 330K, and then decided to jump on once it was like 3 weeks in a row of him starting center. I just thought, nah, they're not going to get rid of him. But in saying that, I don't think Talakai's a bench impact player. I think he should be starting. So
Yeah, you should
that
find a
could
way
change.
for him, even if it's maybe moving. I'm not a biggest Sione Katoa fan. Maybe moving Iro to the
Yeah.
wing and maybe Talakai to the centers.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. I was on the Ruck Infringement podcast last week, and man, I've been like Sharky fan my whole life. And look, no disrespect to the man, but I think that we could have a better team without Katoa in it. And Iro on the wing, Talakai in the centers, Ramian in the centers, Heinz Trindle in the halves, Kennedy at fullback, like Mulatalo on the other wing. That's a gun backline. That's a great backline.
Yeah,
I don't know. Katoa's not safe under the high ball. Yeah, look, I think that rotation of Iro to the wing and Talakai to the centers would be ideal. But whether or not Fitz is going to do it is another question.
yeah. I don't think he will. Just he's really done a job for them. But going on the Broncos side, you see all the Origin players backing up, and I don't think there's not many people here I'd look to buy. Like they don't play around 16, and with them not playing around 16, I think I'm all off Xavier Willison and Kobe Heffington just
Yeah,
because they don't play big minutes like with them there. And Haas and Carrigan are just so influential for this Broncos team. So I think maybe
yeah,
we can just move on. Like, not much to talk about here.
yeah. Literally nothing in a Broncos jersey I'm after. I don't even own Piakura anymore. So yeah,
Although
no
paying
interest to
Haas
that.
at 820K, he's getting very interesting. If he can keep dropping a few 40, 50-minute games, getting down that price, I'll be interested in him.
Dude, 100%. Look, my targets, I've got enough cash in the bank, and if I can manage my trades right up to the end of Origin, I can literally four trade for Yo, Haas, Cleary, and Hines if everything works the way I want it to. Um, if they drop in price the way that they've been dropping or presumed to drop, like that four trade at the end of the season on the run home for what Yo, Haas, Cleary, and Hines, that's probably when I'll target Haas is after Origin.
Yeah, I agree. So on the Storm side, you see Stewart for longer, and I think it's just safe to say that he's a hold until Ryan Pappenhausen comes back into that starting lineup
For
because
sure.
they could move Stewart to the wing in round 16 for Xavier Coates when he goes to Origin, and that's just another round 16 number. So I don't really think it's worth selling him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, but
agreed. I wouldn't be looking to race out and buying him. Like it's way too late now. But yeah, if you've got him, it's kind of like that Blaze situation, isn't it? It's just like, oh, he's in and around the place. You'd rather have the green dot than to offload it. So
yeah,
yeah, he's a
even if he
hold
gets a
100%.
10, like it's 10 points better than you're going to score in that
Yeah.
round for round 13.
And wasting a trade, like, oh man, we can't stress this enough. Hey, I even put out an article that was all about mindset the other day. It had nothing to do with fantasy. It was just like people don't, if you haven't played fantasy for a long time, like Origin is like the test of resilience, this Origin period. It's like less about trying to offload the players at the right time and buy this person at this time and more about just like, dude, stay steady and stay patient because
Yeah,
you can lose trades so quickly over this period.
yeah, I agree. And then are you interested in Wishart and Hughes at all? I just think Wishart at 6, like, I'm not really interested in him, especially with no one really knows when Munster could be back. Like, I don't think it's for a
Yeah.
while, but I just think Wishart, like, you're wasting a trade to bring him in. Then you have to trade him out because he's not going to score well off the bench, and he could be around 550K.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I picked up Wishart when he was just ticked over 300K. So I've had him for a few weeks now. Um, so in saying that, like he's fine for me. I'm just going to keep holding him and riding him. But people that don't own him, yeah, like you said, man, there's no way in the world I'd race out and grab him now. Hughes, on the other hand, though, I think look, he was a shout out on our Blindside Black Book as well as a potential buy over Origin.
Yeah, I
And
think
I think now that he's back, he's a gun.
he's very close to a must-have this week, in my opinion. Him and Moses will be my halves pairing, and I'm actually very happy with that.
Oh,
Probably the
yeah,
best
that's
halves
good.
pairing you could have through Origin. And you put them along
100%.
with Galvin for round 19. It,
Yeah, that's dangerous.
yeah, but going down here, I think Harry Grant is just definitely a hold.
Yeah, I've got him on my hold radar. Not by he was literally traded, and then I said like just before kickoff, I thought, nah, he'll probably back up, and then that will save me having to waste the trade. And then we had hands come up, and I was like, oh, should I trade him? Should I not trade him? Wasn't sure. I was like, nah, look, at the end of the season, if I've got Harry Grant and Reed Marnie as my rotating hookers, I'm pretty stoked with that. So I'll
Yeah,
try and drag out this hold as long as possible.
I don't think he will play 80 just with Bronson Garlic added to the bench. Maybe a 60, 55 minutes for Grant. But knowing
Yeah,
old Grant, he should be able to put out a 55, 50 if he can get back to some of his best form there. He used to be
for
a PPM
sure.
beast.
He has this. He's a bit of a. I'm not sure how much you've noticed this with Grant, but it seems like when he has, like, it was back when Brendan Smith was in the team as well, and they had that rotating hooker rotation. It seems like when Grant is playing 80 minutes, he paces himself over the 80 minutes. But when
Yeah,
he's got a short stint and he knows he's got a short stint, we seem to see like close to the same scoring that he gets when he's playing a full game. So look, yeah, I think you're right there. Like, just because he's playing less minutes and he's going to get managed after Origin, I don't think it necessarily means he's going to bottom out in his scoring. I'd say it indicates that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see him hit a 50.
yeah, either. And then going on to the night side, are you interested in Kai Pearce, Paul, and Dylan Lucas at all? I know I brought in Dylan Lucas last week and for his lowest score of the season, but I just think like they got smoked and he still put out a 40, and which is really good signs for me as an owner of him now.
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely a lot of people had KPP before Origin, and were trading him, and I was like saying, no, no, you bought him for this whole thing, like for the whole period of Origin. Don't trade him now just because he's got bad scores. We've seen this rotation always change. So KPP, I probably wouldn't be racing out to buy KPP, but I'd be holding if I owned. But dude, Dylan Lucas, 100%. A 40 in that game. Dylan Lucas is basic. That's his floor. I'd say as a starting edge, 40 is his floor scoring. And with attacking stats, like let's say they put 10 points on. Like I think so many people had Lucas tipped as a try scorer last week as well. He's just so dangerous. He's so big too. He's deceptively big. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I think he's definitely a pod, massive pod. And look, maybe that could be my pivot instead of Fafita this week. I don't know. Like, it's a bit more risky than what I want to take, but yeah, Lucas is massive, dude. It's a good buy.
yeah. Well, to be honest with you, my worst trade of the season was probably when Kai Pearce Paul got moved to the bench that late.
Yeah.
I traded him to John Bateman the game that
Oh,
Bateman got injured and did his pec. And then next week, Kai Pearce Paul was back starting.
oh, dude, that's rotten. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, you wouldn't
and
like
he
that.
was killing it too. He was on like 20 in about like 20 minutes, Bateman. And then he got moved to the centers and then did his pec. And I was just like, I was close to
Oh,
uninstalling the
dude.
game, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a Bateman owner too, but I was lucky I got him for 2 weeks before his injury happened. But yeah, still, that would
Yeah,
suck. Trade type is ball now seeing him back starting again wouldn't be nice.
nah, but it's all good. So going on the Seagull, you see Lee Hopper-Whitey get the starting one and Tolatau Cooler get the free. So is there any interest in Lee Hopper-Whitey, and is Tolatau Kohler a sell? Yeah, sell you reckon?
Yeah, I don't have any interest in Hopewadi, just purely because look at the competition there. Like we all thought Garrick would get it, then we see that oh well Kohler could get it, then he got it. Now that we've got Hopewadi in the mix, and I think Turbo's back in round 18. So or due back round 18. So look, that's four people gunning for one spot, and we know two of them can play in the centers. So I probably wouldn't be gunning for Hopewadi myself. But Garrick, I don't think this changes anything to do with Garrick. I think, look, he scored 70s and everything like that, and he kicks goals in the centers, which kind of increases his floor. But Kohler, I'd say he's a hold until we see otherwise. I think he has potential to score like a 40 or a 50 at center, and it's probably on the low end, like the low percentage of that happening. But I think I'm just going to hold him and ride him out because I'd rather save the trade and have the green dot than to use the trade and burn him.
Yeah, I agree. And then going on, see, Ola Kawatu, I think he's just a clear hold. Like, he's coming off the bench for Origin, so I don't think he'll play many minutes, and he is killing it this year. But there's so many edges around. Like, you got Fafita, Preston, Lucas, Kalonga Matangi, Ola Kawatu, Elise Katoa. Like,
Yeah, just take your pick. That's like I think any one of them are good. This is kind of where it comes into that territory we touched on before, where it's like, what kind of player are they? You said you're looking for like a workhorse and that steady 40, 50, 60 style player on the edge, and then you've got like the Katoas and the Fafitas that can like 30 and fully floor out, or they can hit close to 100. So I'd just be looking at my team and being like, how many of each of those guys do I have, and do I want more consistency or do I want more explosiveness? That's
yeah,
yeah, it's
I agree with that. But going on to the Panthers side out here, are you interested in Isaac Tonga? Like 498K now, and Paul
yeah.
Alamotti.
Oh,
He's
I'd be
pretty strong.
lying if I didn't say I was, for sure. Even Paul Alamotti as well, but it's crazy to think Tago's cheaper than him.
Yeah,
But
I know.
yeah, I think I would be definitely interested if I didn't have like my trade restriction. And specifically now, if I the two trades I've got planned for this week, I shouldn't have to trade again through Origin, and I should have complete coverage. So I'm hoping that that could steer me away from anyone in a Panthers jersey. But look, round 16, 19 is a bit deadly to be trading in a Panther, in my opinion. But Tago, dude, you're going to keep him for the year if you buy him in. I think that has to be the perspective. And if that's your idea with buying Tago, you may as well grab him now while he's as cheap as he's going to get.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing for me about Tago is just he looks a lot better when Cleary's there, and he looks like he
Mm.
scores a lot better when Cleary's there. And if he keeps playing this bad, and when Cleary returns, he could get up to 400, down to 400K, and then you pick up Cleary at 860, Targa 400, and you just let him go out and do work for you, and you'll be loving life.
For sure, for sure. Oh, that's crazy to think that. Cleary under 900K
Oh
and
yeah,
Tago under 500K. That's
it'd be ridiculous.
insane.
But so one of my mates actually picked up James Fisher Harris last week for a
Oh,
68 in 72 minutes. Is there any interest in James Fisher Harris? And it looks like Moses Leota is out of favor right now with like his minutes. And you do see Lindsay
mm,
Smith and Liam Henry, they're getting better and better and better every week. So do you
yeah.
think Fisher Harris continues with the 65 minutes, or does he go back to 50 now that they're close to full strength?
I think it's potential. I'm pretty sure what happened with Leota last week is he had some sort of hamstring niggle. I can't remember if it was low grade and it's not going to worry him, or if it was going to maybe impact him longer and they were trying to manage him. I think that was why James Fisher Harris got the buff in minutes. But look, personally, I think the time to buy James Fisher Harris was probably last week, so that you could maximize the buy coverage with 16 and 19 not being off and mid being so hard to fill already. But look, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's actually a guy in our Blindside Facebook group chat that messaged me personally and asked me about James Fisher Harris, and I hadn't even looked in his direction until he messaged me. And I
Yeah,
started digging deeper into JFH, and this guy was giving me stats on what he scores when Yo's not in the team and what he scores when Cleary's not in the team. And now they're both not going to be in the team over Origin. And I thought, oh, but he's got these young guys on the bench that are taking minutes, like what you're alluding to. And look, he still went out and bashed out that score in those minutes. So he's showing he's capable of it. So well, I don't know. I wouldn't go there myself, but I wouldn't talk anyone out of it.
yeah, I agree. So we got 10 minutes left in this meeting. We'll just quickly pivot to a couple of these options up here, and then we'll go back to the team list. So I
Sweet.
got Brandon Hands as close to not a must-have, but with that -20 break even, I think it's just a slam dunk option close
Whoa.
to.
Yeah, I did not know his break even was -20. I didn't put
Yeah,
that in any communications, but that's insane. Yeah, that he's a buy. I think what we were waiting for here was just that he was the solo hooker again.
yeah,
And now that's 2 weeks in a row, solo hooker. Like, where's Lussick? Obviously out of favor under Barrett. And look, they won, even though you could probably attribute that to having Moses and Gutho back. Um, they looked better, way better. They beat the Sharks, as even though Sharks are not really at top form, they're second in the comp for a reason. So yeah, I think he's massive buy.
yeah, I agree. So Dave Fafita, we've already done a lot of speaking about him, but I mean, you
Mhm.
see him, he's a gun, and and there's no doubt about it. But I mean, yeah, you just look at those tackling numbers. He's got 10, 20, 18, 20. Like, they're not big enough for me personally. And he crosses over for a
Yeah.
try a lot.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a very volatile scorer. And at that price range, look, you probably want something more consistent. Most people that hit that price range are putting out something more consistent. They're not average there from scoring massive scores a few weeks in a row. But yeah, look, talking to you now, I'm a little bit less high on Fafita than I was before I started the recording.
Yeah. And then you see Latrell Mitchell, like we all know what the bunnies can do. They don't have another buy in the major buy period, like for round 16 and 19. With the 37 break even and just knowing what he can do. Is there any interest in you at all? Like I've known a lot of people that have gone for him this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the cheapest you're gonna see Latrell. The only thing for me is that what he plays 2 good games. What if Blues lose? He plays 2 good games. I think he was probably on the cusp of getting selected for Origin as it was. Well, It's a tough one. I think that he's in the same bracket as Teddy without the heightened risk for me from
Yeah,
last week. So Teddy was like nearly guaranteed to play Origin if something happened to Edwards, or even played a good game against the Cowboys. He had his hand up for Origin too. I think Latrell's less risky in that regard. And yeah, I think he's a buy. Yeah, I'd buy Latrell.
I think there's a lot of risk there. Like
Mm.
there's a time you pull a trigger on the risk, and you know me, like I bring in Alex Twall and Jacob Little, like they're somewhat riskies, but their floor's pretty much 40. But for Latrell, he could get you a 24 and get suspended, like we've seen for him.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
I think it burns you. Like I know both you and me, we're running low on trade. I think I got 7 left now, and I think you have about 7 left too.
Yeah, well, I've got 8 unless I pull the trigger on, Sean Johnson. So, look, I
Yeah,
probably will have 7 as
which
well.
just if we bring him in and then he gets suspended for us, that's 2 trades wasted on Latrell Mitchell. Like, that's where I sit right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, yeah, if you don't have trades in the bank, don't risk it.
Yeah, but I do have Jacob Preston as actually my buy of the week this week again. We saw what he did, 16
Oof.
break even, and he's been back to some of his best form. Looks to have gotten that second row spot, and that 83 was unreal. Do you think it's just a slam dunk option and everyone has to get him in his sides?
Yeah, I think this is the last week to get him. I think the only reason you'd be turned off from Preston is if you don't have edge coverage for round 15. And buying him is going to fill a void for this week, and you're going to get him cheaper, but then you're going to be stuck next week. That's the only reason I can think you wouldn't buy him. But yeah, look, Preston. Now I can't. I don't have Preston, and this whole bloody time I'm thinking Fafita, Kaloa Matangi. I think 100% this has made my mind up. I'm going for Preston and not Fafita.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Just bank that at 250K.
Yeah.
But for me, it's I know like in my side, I have 3 doggies with Preston, Carraz, King. Most people have Carraz and King. There's few running around with Marnie. And if you have
Mm.
Josh Curran on top of that, that's already 4 dogs or 3 dogs that most people have. And then if you add Preston, that's 4 dogs. And most people have a basement player that's not really playing for them. So that's 5 people out next week. So I just think depends how many dogs you have in your side personally.
That'll be 4 dogs for me if I was to pull him up. So, oof.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll see if it works for me long term. And that'll probably make my decision.
So Stefano Uta Atacamano, we had him as a very unlucky player to miss out on Origin this week or this year, and not having another buy until round 26. Do you think Stefano is close to a very good must-have option this week with the scores he can put out there?
For sure. I think that I'd put him probably number 1 and then Twal number 2 out of Tigers players, like in my opinion, just because he's got the longevity. I think the only issue here with Utoka Manu is that his minutes are fluctuating, which is affecting
Yeah,
his score. That's it. Other than that, if he gets the minutes, he gets the points every time.
yeah, and he's close to a PPM beast. I think he's very close to a must-have. And then going on with Kelma Tuolangi. That's one I'm very interested in this week. Again,
Ooh.
negative 22 break even. And like we know what he can do in the edge. I was looking at this, he's had a few good scores there. And an average of 36.5. He'll make you money, but yeah, there's a couple of 50s in there. Are you interested in him at all? Or is it just too risky with Madison coming back maybe? Hopgood could get moved to the edge, and then you've got also Lane onto the bench who could get moved to the edge too.
Yeah, and Cardi in the team, I fully have where I've listed him as a trap. I think a lot of people are going to fall for him. They're going to chase that short-term gain. I
Yeah,
can see definitely the upside. Like, look, if he puts together 2 back-to-back 40s over the next couple of weeks, he's pushing up around 550K. So you can definitely see the quick cash there and the quick value. But the problem for me is Madison now has been told that he's enlisted in the wider reserves. So he could make a comeback literally this week. We don't know if he just gets slotted in. I think ideally the 4 players on that edge rotation are going to be Hopgood, Lane, Madison, and Cartwright.
yeah, I think he is a trap in my opinion.
Mm.
So you see Alex Twall, 576K, 18 break even. I brought him in and we see what he can do. Like I filtered it to over 60 minutes, which I think he will get around prop. And he has a career average of 60.7 over 60
Oh,
minutes.
wow.
I
That's
mean,
insane.
we know he's an absolute stud at 575 odd K. I mean, Are you going for him at all this week?
Look, I looking at that, seeing his scores over 60 minutes, it's like flip a coin who's 1 and 2 out of Utui Kumanu and him. I couldn't pick now.
Well,
Um,
Stefano is more expensive. Like, well, you save 90K.
yeah. Oh, dude, this is tough. I don't know. I think that 12 for me is perfect because he fits the rest of the Origin period. But then he doesn't play the last game, so I need to factor in the concept that I'm going to have to trade him again.
Yeah,
It's somebody else, even if it's the last round. So then I'm using 2 trades effectively because I'm not going to have him in my final team. And because I've got low trades, that's probably the only reason I've turned off him.
and then
Otherwise, you bought him in the perfect week.
you have Bateman and Papali'i coming back, which you probably see one of them go to 13 with Fainu killing it, and then you have Clemmer coming
Mhm.
back. So probably takes Clemmer moves to prop, Paul back to the bench, back to his 40-minute role, which I think makes Paul a sell when he gets 40 minutes.
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, so probably the last one for this video until the next one. James Tedesco,
Sweet.
679K. And again, I brought him that round against the Broncos, 72, 60, 46, and 69. But is James
Course.
a sell now? Like, I've been running a few numbers. He doesn't play 14. He's not really known for backing up very oftenly. So
Yeah.
he might not play 16, 17, 19, 20. And I think James will absolutely kill it in Origin and keep his spot. So do you think James is a safe sell?
Yeah, I think he's a safe sell. Look, I tried to talk people out of even bringing him in last week. He was the most highly captained player last week. And look, I got a rule at Blindside: do not put the C on anyone in a jersey from 1 to 5. Like we learnt with Turbo earlier in the year. It doesn't matter how good the game looks, and how much the idea is like, oh, he's going to score big this week. I'm putting the captaincy on him. They're just too volatile in scoring. And Tedesco I'd still say, he's the number 1 fullback in the game. And like what you said, if he plays Origin, he's going to go off, and I don't think he's going to lose that spot to Edwards. So he's a trade out, 100%.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And yeah, I don't think he will. He kills it, and that 27 break even could make him a hold, but I just don't think he plays enough games. And there's a lot more plays you could pivot him to, like straight swap to Preston, Keon Kalonga Matangi, safe off, tall, little, Appy Carousel,
Yeah,
like the list goes on there.
yeah.